Okay, this is a video solution for the final exam practice 1. Some of the problems anyways, not all of them, is what we're going to do here. So let's move on to number 2. We have two memory locations. We have sum and we have x. Sum has a value of 0 and x has a value of 1. And so when you go into the loop, go to the loop test, x is 1 is less than or equal to 5, so you go down here and into the loop, and sum is going to be added first to x and then assigned to the sum. And so the x is 1 and sum is 0. So it's going to be 0 plus 1, which is 1, and so the sum is assigned 1. You go to the next line down, and x is going to be added to 2, so and then assigned to x. So x is 1, so 1 plus 2 is 3. And that's assigned to 3, or assigned to x. So you do the addition first, and then you do the assignment. The next line down says end this loop and go back to while. So you go back to while. Now x is now 3, and 3, you test it. 3 is less than or equal to 5. So you jump into the loop, and now the sum, which is 1, is added to x, which is now 3. And so 1 plus 3 is 4, is then assigned to sum. Go to the next line down, and x is now 3. So 3 plus 2 is 5, and then that's assigned to x. So x is now 5. The next line down says to end the loop, go back to while. So you go back up to while, and now x is 5, and that's tested. And 5 is less than 5, so we go jump back in the loop. The sum, which is now 4, is going to be added first to x, which is 5. And that's 9. And then the next thing is you now assign it to sum. And so sum is now going to be 9. The next line down says to take x and add it to 2 first, which is 7. And then take that 7, and then next, because we're going from left to right, assign it to x. So x becomes 7. At this point, you go to the next line down, and this says end the loop, go back to while. And now instead of 5, we're using a 7. 7 is not less than or equal to 5. So you jump out of the loop, and there's nothing left to do in the program. So the finish is that sum is 9, and x is 7. In number 5 is what will be the values of count and total after the following code is run. So we start with total, which is going to be, or is it right now assigned 0, and then you have, as you go to the for loop, you start with this first argument, and here the count variable is initialized to be 1. So count is 1. Then you test the variable, and 1 is less than 4, so we test the variable, and then we jump into the loop because the count is less than 4. So the total is going to be assigned the total plus the count times 3. So we do the parentheses first. So 1 times 3 is 3, which is added to 0. So the 3 is assigned to total. Now we end the loop and go back to 4. But when you go back to the for loop, you come in the back end now from here on out. And so we're going to increment or update count, and it becomes 2. Then you go to the test in the middle, and 2 is less than 4. And then you go back in the loop. So this is now no longer going to be used. So we go into the loop, and the total is now going to be assigned whatever the total is now, which is 3, plus whatever the count in the parentheses, whatever the count is, which is 2 times 3. So this is going to be 6 is added to 3. So 9 is now assigned to total. The next line down says end loop, go back to 4, so we go back in the back end again, and we increment count, which is now 3. And then you go into the test, and 3 is less than 4, so you go back into the loop. The total, so if we're going to take the count times 3, so that's 3 times 3, which is 9, add it to the total. The total currently is 9. So 9 plus 9 is 18. So 18 is assigned a total. Go to the next line down. It says go back to 4. We go in the back end. We increment count. Count becomes 4. So 4 is now tested here, and 4 is not less than 4. So we kick out of the loop, and there's nothing else to do in the program. So our total is 18, and then our count is 4. That's the values at this point. All right, so that's numbers 2 and 5.